Welcome to FinCrime Insights. My name is Erik Setsos. I'm Director of Innovation at Financial Crime Prevention at T2Every Banking. In this podcast series, we're looking into various aspects of financial crime. We're looking at fraud, we're looking at money laundering, and we're looking at digital identity. In this episode, we will talk about money laundering. The criminals need to launder money acquired through fraud, and with increasing fraud, we also see an increase in money laundering. And the criminals are getting smarter, so we need to improve the way we work to catch money launderers. To help me with this, I've Synne Husby, who is the product manager of AML and KYC. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And this is an important topic. But could you start by just explaining what is your role and how long have you been working with this?
Yes. So I work as a product manager in AML KYC. I have been in T2Every for a bit over 3 years and working in the AML field for the past 2.5 years.
Right. Okay. So money laundering, that's your expertise. That's what you're working. What is it? If you should explain that to a layperson, what would you say money laundering is?
Yeah. So money laundering is it's about making profit from any criminal activity seems legitimate. So it's hiding traces from profit that comes from any illegal activity. So, for example, you have the primary crime that could be drug trafficking, embezzlement, fraud. And the secondary crime it's money laundering, and that is to make to have it look like a source that is from a legitimate from a legitimate source.
Right, which is of course important if you want to use the money acquired on illegal means, right? You need to make it look like it's money acquired by legal means.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the original crime. I mean, it's we talk a lot about fraud and money laundering. What's the difference between the two?
Um, so fraud is about it's stealing money basically from someone. So it's like obtaining money through deception, and money laundering is to hide the profit you made from that. For us, that works with software for both fraud and AML. In fraud, you want to prevent the customers, you and me, from getting frauded by criminals, and it's for example, if I see some activity on my account that is not done by me, I will probably call the bank to say, hey, I have these transactions, I don't recognize them, can you have a look? Or the bank contact me and say, well, we have some suspicious transactions. Is that you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so you want to understand right away if a customer has been frauded or not. In AML, it's a bit different because we can't. The banks they can't let their customers know if they are being investigated for money laundering. So you can't really, if you find any suspicious transactions, you probably won't call that customer and say, "Hey, are you doing money laundering?" Because it's then you help the criminal hide the traces even faster. And this is also it's in the laws and regulations as well for money laundering, the provision of disclosure. So that is something in AML that they will have to consider.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because you don't want to tell them that they're being investigated. And also, as you said, for fraud, either you or the bank is gonna, say that, you know, I've lost some money. But that's not the case with money laundering, right? Nobody's reporting this money as lost.
No, it's not. It's if it comes from fraud, maybe the person that has been frauded will report it. But when you are doing money laundering, it's yeah, it's so you want to make it look as invisible as possible, and just have the profit from any criminal activity just run through the bank system smoothly without it being caught.
Right. So both of them are about, from our perspective, detecting some activity, but the actions we take are very different.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So money laundering. How much money laundering do we stop?
Oh, it's a good question, and we don't really know, because we deliver software to banks. So the banks, they are the obliged entity, and they are reporting to the authorities of suspicious transactions, or we can call it events. Any suspicious event, they will have to report to the authorities. And the the number of suspicious activity reports, SAR, it has increased a lot the past few years. And when you are submitting a SAR, it's the banks doesn't always get feedback from the authorities, so it's a bit it's a bit hard to know actually how much we stop. But based on the kind of the amount that we, or at least the UN, for example, suspects to that are the streams of the money laundering, it's around maybe 5% of the world's BNP.
Wow.
So when we are working with numbers like that, I think yeah, we know that we do stop. We don't stop enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge amount of money, and it's a big challenge. And also you mentioned the banks. I mean, we're not directly involved, but the banks would send a report to the financial investigation authority, but there's a lack of reporting coming back, is what you say. So it's difficult to know whether we have false positives.
Yeah, correct. It's that is because and also compared to for example fraud, you will get the feedback almost right away.
Yeah.
An alarm has triggered, then you will have the feedback right away if this was fraud or not. So that makes it also yeah, easier to tune rules, set up scenarios. But for money laundering, when you don't have that feedback, it's harder to know. Yeah, it's harder to understand that. Yeah.
Right, because we don't really have the target picture that we want to set the rules against, etc.
Yeah.
But what are the mechanisms we use to identify money laundering?
So it is of course transaction monitoring. So it's monitor customer behavior. That is kind of the core of detecting money laundering, but it's also to customer risk rating, and the whole KYC, know your customer process, is also a part of that. If we have like the umbrella term of AML, it's quite it's a lot of different mechanisms. Yeah.
Yeah, so the KYC is both about checking the background. It's asking what's your normal monetary behavior, and then monitoring if you follow those rules you set initially, right?
Yeah, so it's like expected behavior of a customer versus actual behavior.
Right. Yeah. We from time to time we get those really irritating questions. How much you're going to spend and so on. But I mean, it's important to realize this is really important because that's part of the job we're doing to know this.
Yes. And yes, and I, of course, since I'm working with this, it's a kind of an, yeah, to everyone when we have those questions answered from the bank. It's I know that also it can be annoying, but it's actually helping the banks. Yeah, so it could be a part of our duty as a member of a society to help the banks with those kind of questions as well.
Right. No, I think that's a very good way of putting it when we talk to people that do not understand and are not involved, saying, trying to explain why you get these annoying questions and you have to fill in this form again and so on. And it's part of, as you said, us as society trying to fight this together.
Yeah, correct.
So fighting it, and you said we don't stop enough. We should be stopping more. How can we go about what could we put in place to catch more money laundering?
Yeah, so it's of course AI. It will be a part of. It will not solve the issue itself, but it's a tool to hopefully catch more. Just to have some suggestions for using it for profiling, and if actual behavior, if that's kind of typical for that customer profile or not. Yeah, so that's a part of also yeah, to have the kind of the customer risk profiles, and yeah, it's also quite to have more data sharing and cooperation between banks as well, because there is in money laundering, it's usually maybe a big amount that has come from, for example, a fraud or some or drug sales, and they have to be divided into smaller transactions, and then you kind of you are doing multiple transactions just to make them almost invisible. So with data sharing as well, it would be then we are then we can follow the money in a better way that we can just yeah, without the data sharing.
Yeah. And the latter thing you mentioned, I mean, data sharing, that's an important part of this. And we're not doing enough of that, are we? I mean, it would be interesting. As you said, it's about hiding the trail of money. And of course, the criminals, they know what we are doing, and they will, of course, use different banks, etc., to do this. But there's a challenge with the cooperation between banks.
Yeah, and it's this when we are working with the anti-money laundering, it's always this privacy and GDPR concerns versus the rules and regulations for money laundering. But yeah, data sharing, it is important to follow the kind of where the whole flow of the transactions, and just not what comes into the bank and what goes out. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we really want to follow the same person or same legal entity across the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
That would help a lot.
Mm.
And you mentioned AI, which is now the buzzword and it's going to solve everything, right? But I mean, the challenge, I guess, is training the AI models.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a clear, as fraud, we have a much clearer target to what we're going to train, but AI, we're struggling with that.
Yeah, we do, and yeah, we need to train the AI models. the more data we have, the more can we train the algorithms. So we need for working with AI, we need a lot of data to be able to see patterns that would not be discovered without the AI. So yeah, to have enough data is very important.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, AI is good at finding patterns and that sort. So, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and we are working on this and implementing this as we speak to be better at that as well. And so, what's your vision for the future? What will it look in the future? How will it improve? How can we improve? What should we be doing?
So I hope that we have a brighter future ahead. So it's, of course, it's to that we catch more, to make it harder to launder money. That's that it's very important, and also to have good collaboration between banks and software suppliers and authorities. That would be a huge I think that is kind of a key to success in fighting money laundering.
Yeah, no, very good. And the latter is what I keep hearing when I talk to people and go to conferences, that the cooperation, the sharing of data, and the new financial regulations are more specific on the right and obligations to share the data, which hopefully will improve this.
Yeah, yeah.
So, very good. Let's hope we move to a brighter future, that we can catch more of this, because this is really important. It's sort of invisible. Most people don't really understand what it's about and how important it is, but I think we're doing a really important job on this. So thank you for sharing your insights. It's been great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And to everybody listened, thanks for joining, and stay tuned for the next episode of FinCrime Insights.